Hello and welcome to the Business of the Business podcast. I'm your co-host, JP John Poz, with two-man power trip. Of course, joining me is the financial wrestling genius himself, my co-host, Mr. Lavie Margolin. Lavie, how you doing today, sir?
Doing good, John. I was just thinking about episode 228. So on the road to 250, we have to think about how to celebrate.
Yeah, it's very, very true. We got a lot of stuff going on, and I feel like the best way to celebrate is talk about your favorite topic, and that is Triller. What is going on with Triller?
Yes, John, we'll save here and there till the very end.
Yes, that's
Um,
my favorite. Yeah, yeah.
so as we record this, I guess in a practical sense, Triller's week on Wall Street this week, as compared to last week, is actually rarely positive, meaning that um, last week we had the TNA business special with the breaking executive news, and I had grabbed a screenshot of, I think the stock was about 0.57, so like 57 cents. Then it was up all the way to about 76 cents. Dropped down. It was up like 17% one day, then back down again. Now it's at 61 cents. So um, with the market not looking good, not a bad week for them, but relatively so, they are not doing well in terms of the stock market since the merger. So in the last 6 months, they're down 90%. So Grok, so just one Grok reference this week. I had Grok sort of sort out what's going on with their stock and why it's been down, and a little bit of perspective here. So Triller went public on October 15th. It seems like more recent than that, but so 6 months, right? So a good time to look back. Through a merger with the AGBA. At the time, the combined company was valued at approximately $4 billion. And stock debuted at $5.60. So it's at 60 cents now. It debuted at $5.60. Excuse me. However, since then, the stock has experienced a significant decline, trading at much lower levels. So, what's going on? Market perception and post-merger performance. When Triller began trading, its stock saw an initial spike, actually all the way up to 652, but quickly fell. The early drop suggests investor enthusiasm waned shortly after the debut, possibly due to skepticism about the company's ability to meet the high expectations. The current market cap, hovering around 140 to 166 million, reflects a stark disconnect from that initial valuation, indicating that the market has not sustained confidence. So, a $4 billion valuation to 140 million. Financial struggles pre-merger. Prior to going public, Triller and AGBA showed signs of financial strain, legal and operational challenges. So there had been reports of late payments to places like Sony Music and Universal Music Group, which damaged its reputation. Once you start having late payments to some of the big boys in media, you can start getting hit with a lot of uh, legal and financial difficulties. Diversification versus focus. Triller Group's business spans social media, the Triller app, live streaming events, Triller Fight Club. We haven't heard about the Fight Club thing in a while. Financial services and other venues like influencer marketing and sports content. So that was kind of weird, like with the merger, that AGBA, financial services, technology, was like unclear what that means exactly, at least to me. And then Triller sort of had this streaming music creator thing, broader market dynamics, challenging environment for technical and sentiment factors. Post-NX and stock and analysis platforms have described Triller as volatile and bearish. So that's based on predictions, which have mostly come true. So Triller also, and they had posted about having their CEO and CFO at Mar-a-Lago recently. Now at an exclusive luncheon. Now, I don't know how they got there. There was no pictures with the president, but I heard that you can purchase the ability to go to an exclusive lunch at Mar-a-Lago as a business person or otherwise. So I don't know how they got there. I'm not saying that they bought their way there, but a nice photo op. They had a picture in front of Trump in a white sweater and a bust of him recreating the scene after he raised his arm after getting shot and so on. But all of this is to say that for the most part, the world of pro wrestling isn't talking about it. Fight Opinion picked up on it a little bit, but before the merger, they were in, well, I don't know. Well, yeah, Triller was in a difficult space before the merger. The Triller app and the fight seemed to be, we don't know if it was profitable or not, but it seemed to be doing its thing. But they raised some money from that. But now the stock has gone down so much, it just makes me question again, like, is it sustainable? Will we have the Triller app, the fight infrastructure in 6 months or a year? There still hasn't been, as far as I'm aware, a quarterly report. That probably would have come out in the last 2 weeks, but I haven't seen that. So we have to learn more. But the infrastructure for pro wrestling outside of the big two in the US and outside of the US, outside of the big one, because AEW is somewhat reliant on them. New Japan is as well for some of their distribution. We saw with AEW the estimates that it's not a tremendous amount of money, but in terms of getting into a variety of markets. So it could really be disruptive to the world of pro wrestling if Triller goes away. No one said that it is, but you just have to look at the financials now that it's public, or at least the value of the stock. And when it goes from a high of, what was it, 650 to now 60 cents, right? That's certainly cause for alarm.
So what is going on in the world of MLW, Major League Wrestling?
So in the sense, I could be making a mountain out of a molehill here, whatever it may be. Wrestling companies change venues, not all the time, but for different reasons. It can happen, from the extreme of WrestleMania 7 to just logistical reasons and so on. So MLW had planned to be in LA proper. They're still going to be in the LA area, but they moved from a casino. I'm not sure if it would be described as like a casino ballroom, but to a section of a production studio that has hosted fights and wrestling before. So MLW moves to a larger venue due to an overwhelming demand from West Coast MLW fans. Thunder Studios Arena will now host MLW Battle Riot 7 in Long Beach, California. People could exchange their tickets. Now, I know everyone in LA drives and all that sort of thing, but depending on where you are coming from, it's a 25-minute difference between that area of LA and Long Beach. So initially announced on March 21st by Mike Johnson, MLW announced that they have moved Battle Riot. MLW will move to a state-of-the-art facility. Battle Riot sold out last week, shattering all-time box office records. This is obviously from a press release. With West Coast fans flooding MLW with requests after missing out on tickets, the league moved quickly to upgrade to a larger destination to meet the demand. So in terms of, this new venue, when you look at it, if it's the arena, that versatile venue offers independent access and accommodates up to 1,000 guests. So there is, it's connected, as I mentioned, to production studios. So I don't know if there's you can move panels or maybe they're in a different section. But PW Insider reported that over 2,000 fans have purchased tickets or sold out the venue. So this is all feels a little bit shady to me, John. You have an event in LA that sells maybe 1,000 tickets, nearly 1,000 tickets. It looks like it's doing quite well. Suddenly they move venues, and then a venue that's listed as holding 1,000 suddenly has 2,000 people that have a run of tickets of MLW. To me, like, it feels like a PR thing, like trying to make the promotion sound hotter than it is. Something with, and I don't know, it could obviously just speculation here, having some fun, but with the MLW tickets, the way they move, it just doesn't seem to correlate to interest in the promotion.
Interesting there. I wonder what happened with the venue. That's kind of an interesting switch as well. I wonder what the heck's going on over there in the LA area.
So my speculation on all of this is that Paul Walterhausen, no, I'm joking, Paul Walter Hauser, is behind this in a good way, meaning that his, they're working not only with him as talent behind the scenes, trying to get a better distribution deal for them through his company arm. And it's a good opportunity to showcase MLW to prospective friends, buyers, contacts, whatever it may be, at least to initiate a discussion or information session like that. So rather than a packed out casino ballroom, which doesn't like translating your mind for television as much, but although that seems cool to me, here's a venue that like is for TV. So that's like the benefit of doing it in this way. But MLW, their Azteca Lucha on May 10th is also a hot ticket. They seem to have been doing well here in Chicago for a while, and a venue that's historically done really well for them. Just bleacher tickets remain. I think it's several hundred seats that were on the floor that have been gone. Summer of the Beast in Queens on June 26th. That's a little bit of time, and still front row tickets available there, but it's a small venue. But they also announced not only, as CMLL working with them of coming to Chicago and supporting their events overall, but in Arena Mexico on May 2nd, there's going to be a collaboration with MLW. So from what I understand, John, CMLL like always does well in Arena Mexico. So they didn't necessarily need a brand like MLW to move tickets, or that might even be that well known, over there. But it's good for the perception of MLW if they could use the weekly programming and so on. Actually, I'm not sure how much they're producing every week now, or it's just, as they have different specials, but whatever purpose that they have, and they're combining different talents and so on. So like Mystico against Kushida, Matthew Justice against Ultimo Guerrero, and so on. So a promotion sort of still looking for something, sort of like the NWA in a way, but I think LA will be important to them, and interesting to hear reports and estimates as we can get them in terms of the attendance.
Now, here's something very, very interesting to me, and I know a lot of people had a lot of interesting comments about it. What is going on with WWE? What is going on with the WWE ID? And what is going on with the WWE ID tournament? Because it seems like it is Mania week and Mania weekend and all that other stuff, but it seems like all those shows are now like WWE infiltrated as well.
Yeah, so John, I know we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Like, it felt like when talent was signed to WWE ID, and I don't think we've seen those announcements in a while. Like, everyone was celebrating it. It was like the coolest thing. Like, if WWE ID account like mentioned like a promotion that people were interested in, they're like, "Oh my God, that's amazing!" Everyone's like celebrating it. I can't believe WWE said GCW or TNA or whatever. And now all the time, WWE ID, maybe I should just say ID, is sharing matches and so on. People are like, meh, like, like it cooled off so much. And I finally got, and again, for people that are watching week to week, like, trust your own opinion. I'm sure you do, but like, trust others' opinions who are following it closer. But it just, the part of Evolve that I watched, it wasn't very good. The one that's free on streaming, like it was just very stale. It was sort of like not the worst of the indies, right? Because you can see a lot worse, but it was just like not the right type of environment. It looked like down market, everything like that. So that can help as well. So Suit Williams, who I'm not familiar with, had a great take. WWE has fully co-opted Mania weekend. The indies that were there to show their fairs to curious audiences are now, with some exceptions, teaming with WWE for clout. It's over, dog. WrestleMania week this week WrestleMania week this year just seems like a mess. Just so much, especially WWE, just like pumping out so much that, you can't blame them to like try and take over the market, but nothing else is really standing out. And we'll get into the collective, which, without being too far away now, especially booking such a large venue, that nothing is standing out, but especially, and no one else is really covering this that I noticed yet. No one covers the Eventbrite like us, John. So GCW, August 16th, I'm sorry, April 16th. I've been doing that a lot recently. Their opening round. So front row ringside VIP are almost gone, so just waiting for that. So that's $74.99. Front row, though, 10 or more tickets remain. Second row, 10 or more tickets remain. For Future Stars of Wrestling, which they'll be doing this on the 18th, the first round, everything, including the front row VIP, which are $65 for them, poster and priority entry, 10 or more tickets, front row, second row, GA, and so on. So it just seems like very cold and not helping them right now, in terms of the ticket sales. For trade-offs with relationships with WWE, obviously that could benefit them in other ways, and GCW benefits from that, in different ways all the time. Obviously, it's worth that trade-off, but in terms of like a standalone show, how many people have expressed interest thus far? I would say, based on the size of the venues and the tickets remaining less than 100 each, are they up to each 75 tickets sold yet? It'll be interesting to see if we could get some pictures, but we'll certainly get the event right before.
When you are looking at the WBID program and the WWE tournaments, obviously tied to GCW. So what's going on with Game Changer Wrestling and WrestleMania week as well?
Yes, so Game Changer Wrestling, the collective, like, just to put this in perspective, they're renting out a venue that obviously you get a price break, right? Because it's only over, what was it, 2 or 3 days? I think just 2 days, right? But you're running it multiple times. So just in terms of the potential capacity, we talked about like the Hammerstein Ballroom. You're running a venue slightly bigger than the Hammerstein Ballroom, like 7 times with partners, right? So what are they actually doing? And to me, thus far, it has to be disappointing. Obviously, it's not over till it's over. But let's see what's going on. TJPW, 11 a.m., 619 tickets distributed. DDT, 451. Joey Janela's Spring Break, obviously this will stand out, 1,078. Heels Have Eyes, 562. And sorry, just knocked my thing off. Okay, then you have Effie's Big Gay Brunch, 536. GCW versus TJPW versus DDT, 432. Spring Break Clusterfuck, excuse me, I'm just saying the name, 514. Something's missing here because we don't have the Bloodsport number, but that was in the around 500 something when I last checked. There's also Dragon Gate Rebirth, so that's in a smaller section. So that is a small area again, an outlier, but general admission, standing room only is 10 or more tickets left. So that will likely sell out. Now, interestingly, some of these other events are getting coverage with local Vegas press. So Splash Mag covers the Palms. And interestingly, like I didn't know this, besides GCW and its partners running all these shows all the time, there's a lot going on there in support of WrestleMania. So I'll skip around the GCW stuff. WrestleMania viewing and pool parties. Daily WrestleMania viewing on LED and cabana screens. DJ and MC Little Luchador. Ric Flair and Mojo appearances. Poolside first responders eating contest. Okay, that's good. Mojo, Mandy Saxon, Penelope Ford appearances. Ghost Bar late night events. Bully Ray, Sin City Rooftop Rocker, 80s and 90s Rock and Hip Hop Night. I can see you enjoying that, John.
Yeah.
DJ Ryan Cabrera and DJ Eric Forbes. Then something called Philanthropy, Critical Care Comics Hospital Visit. So doing something good. I'm not sure how that's connected to the Palms Casino, but whatever they're doing there. Actually, no, here, they do explain it. Palms is proud to partner with Critical Care Comics to bring wrestlers to visit children at a local pediatric ward, bringing smiles and encouragement to young fans. So kudos on that. So that's WrestleMania. Anything else we should talk about regarding that week before we get into GCW's regular flow?
No, I was just curious. Do you think that the ticket sales have been a little lackluster compared to what you thought of what they would have been for Mania, or are they going to ramp up closer to the day? People are going to pick them up, at the window kind of thing, because there's so much going on in Vegas. I mean, geez, Louise, there's something going on every 2 seconds in Vegas.
Yeah, I think for WrestleMania proper, like they've really you're starting to see some strain this year. Like you push and push and push, and yes, what did I see? I think it was the wealthiest 10% of Americans do 50% of the spending, something like that. So you're trying to maximize that price value, but as we could see, John, for ourselves, just trying to take our kids to see their first wrestling shows, whatever it may be. And you're you have to do a trade-off with your own family. It's okay, am I going to be able to spend $300? Is there a way to make this happen? It reaches a certain point. So that might be sort of where the economics comes in rather than an interest level. But in terms of the ancillary events, I think it's very much you have to stand out. But I think there's just so much, a crush of so much, that it's hard to stand out. We've seen this other years. I'm not sure how it compares in terms of volume, but for example, I remember one year when WrestleMania was in New Jersey, and the last time they were in New Jersey, and Capital Wrestling, later Catalyst Wrestling, they run all the time in the area at that time, and they ran a venue a little bit out of the way, maybe in New Jersey, but I think they did 75 people or whatever it may be, just because there's so much going on. It is really hard to stand out.
So what else is going on in the world of GCW?
So the Philly special, I think this is at the Casino, Harris, that they've run a number of times. Not too much activity there, especially for Philadelphia, where, I know that we've spoken to Brad, and sort of I could run 2300 Arena whenever I want or anything like that. I'm not sure actually now with the promotions that they run with how that would all work, but this is their Philadelphia spot now, and it's never really popped so far. This is an afternoon show or early evening, because I think is that AEW is running later. I forgot what else is going on, but second row has 8 tickets remaining, so that will likely sell out. The third row and GA have 10 or more tickets. LA, crazy, scary, spooky, hilarious. These are usually like song lyrics. I'm not familiar with that song. May 3rd, third row, 10 or more tickets. Fourth row, 10 or more tickets. Usually they end up doing fine there in terms of any market. Big time in Maryland, working with MCW. 10 or more tickets in every section. Run for it in Rochester, Brett's hometown, original hometown. So front row has 9 tickets remaining. So that will likely sell out. Third row is 8. Balcony reserved, 6. Second row, though, 10 or more tickets remaining. GA, standing room, 10 or more tickets. So May 18th. So they have some time. So likely they'll do okay there. Now, often, I think, like, is it time for GCW to like go away from the hardcore, which I don't know if this is unfair to say, John, but for the most part they have, right? Like if you go to a GCW show, it's not going to be like a bloody mess, death matches everywhere. Sometimes it's where they're running, right? Like in New York, of course, but it is still a big draw for them. We have seen like weakness in ticket sales, but comparatively, Tournament of Survival, 5th row, and the show is until June 7th, 4 tickets remaining. So that will sell out likely. And I think they could go 7, 8, 9 rows deep. I'm not sure how much, but more than the 5th row. And standing room only has 10 or more tickets remaining. Cage of Survival 4, the second day is always slower, but their third row ringside has 10 or more tickets remaining. Brett had said the 10th anniversary and homecoming weekend is coming up. Those events will take place in New Jersey. I feel like we also need to celebrate in LA. What should we do? Any cool spots in LA to consider? So that would be interesting because the Ukrainian Culture Center is a good regular stomping ground for them. Brett's talked about how profitable it has been for them. But maybe something more ambitious or different to try. So just running down their events. Sometimes in the graphics they cover a number of events that they don't mention yet in terms of like tickets being on sale. So it's like a good spoiler for that. So what we talked about, April 6th in Philadelphia at Harris. So they are a 3-day run at the Palms Casino Resort, 17th to the 19th. May 3rd in LA, Ukrainian Culture Center. May 4th in Portland, the Hawthorne Theater. So that's an interesting one. May 17th in Joppa, Maryland, RJ Meyer Arena. May 18th in Rochester, Water Street. June 7th and 8th in Atlantic City. June 20th in Little Rock. June 22nd in Kansas City at the Truman. July 4th, the special in the USA. July 5th in Hartford at the Webster. July 11th in Dallas. July 19th in Brooklyn in the Cyclones Maimonides Park. July 28th, 29th, and 30th in Tokyo. Apologies for those that know how to pronounce these correctly. Shinjuku Face, Tokyo Square, and Crockett Hall. August 23rd and 24th, Atlantic City. September 13th, Indianapolis. They're running the state park, somewhere they did during COVID time. September 28th in London, Electric Ballroom. And October 4th in Anchorage, Arctic Rec Center. They run so many shows, and I know we've talked about most of these. It's easy to forget all of this stuff upcoming.
Yeah, they got a lot of shows coming up, that's for sure. What is going on with New Japan Pro Wrestling? How are they selling in their couple shows that they've got coming up to the United States?
So as we're recording this, we're 8 days out from April 11th. The time has come. Windy City Riot, of course, Tanahashi's last U.S. match. 153 ticket pickup in 7 days. 3,630 tickets distributed. I'd expect a fairly big pickup this week, but maybe topping out at 4,000. But I don't think they would need to set up more than the 4,500 seats. So I think that's a good win for them. Maybe in the end, a little bit disappointing because it was just last year that Windy City Riot did 5,283. But given the current market, especially if it wasn't on Ishii's retirement, that would be quite strong. It's very hard to draw even over 2,000 or 2,500 people outside of WWE, AEW, or like a little person show in Staten Island ballpark or something like that. New Japan Resurgence in Ontario, California. That's more like a realistic New Japan number in the US right now. Tickets distributed 826 with a setup of 3,721.
What about NWA? Seems like they're doing something a little bit interesting there with the power play, if you will, the NWA power play. What's up with NWA?
Yeah, so this caught me by surprise right before we started recording. They tweeted out Saturday at midnight Eastern Standard Time, NWA Power Play returns to the NWA YouTube channel. So I don't know if there was, maybe there was, with a celebration of the Lightning One era of the NWA. So that's the modern era. So a little bit more explanation of what power play is. A celebration of the NWA where we take you through an assortment of favorite matches, moments, and memories all weekend long. So, okay, so maybe it's like a long stream, and they're using the content, obviously the content that they already have. So it just was a reminder to me to be like, okay, what have they been up to on their YouTube? Because similar to MLW, they've prioritized it, they haven't, and so on. They have 312,000 subscribers. Their grade is a C+. So 312 is not that much growth, I would say, in the last year or two. So stagnating would be my take on that. The Crockett Cup is their most notable show upcoming at the 2300 Arena on May 17th. Again, front row gone, and then a few tickets here and there. And then just sort of indicative of their territories, who have shows coming up: Wrestleversary, Fayette, Missouri, NWA JCP, Decatur, Tennessee, April 4th, NWA WLW Spring Breakout, April 5th in Troy, Missouri, NWA KFW, Maryville, Tennessee, April 18th, NWA Exodus, the boys are back in town, Cleveland, Ohio. So this reminds me, like, I remember being at a friend's house in the late 90s, and well, about the time that NWA appeared on WWF Raw at the time, and I was just curious, and like I didn't have the internet at my house yet, so I just Googled it, and then I found the NWA's website, and I was like, oh my god, like there's this promotion still exists, and you know this this territory and that territory, and I feel bad, but I used up all my friends' color ink cartridges because I was just like printing out the pages to review it at home later. But it sort of reminds me of where the NWA still is, especially with its territories. Like, okay, you have like a hodgepodge of territories, but like, how does it all like make sense and come together? And besides sort of like seeding talent here and there, and some of the top stars from those territories, especially the owners, who are some of whom are wrestlers when they come to the power programming. But John, I was thinking about like companies working together and so on, and so many are under WWE's umbrella right now, and even NWA is getting Natty Neidhart, so maybe you could classify them in that way, and they want to keep good relations. But MLW is sort of like, in the U.S., on its own. Yes, they have the CMLL relationship. They have the on again, well, not on again, off again, but like warmed up and then cooler with New Japan. That with the NWA and MLW, both are sort of looking for a direction. I know you have a lot of egos there and different celebrities and so on. I'm wondering if like it would make sense for them to try and align a little bit more. What do you think?
That wouldn't be bad. A little MLW NWA team up. That would not be a bad idea at all, especially if maybe NWA might feel like they might be stagnating a little bit. Change it up, shake it up a little bit. Add add some MLW to the flavor there.
Yeah, I think you have to have like that openness, like in terms of philosophy and like find like a common ground, something like that. I'm not sure if like a feud works is as appealing anymore, but something like in terms of collaborating.
What in the world is going on in TNA? Seems like they're busy, busy, busy.
Yeah, at least a quieter week though this week. No one
Yeah, definitely.
else was moved from their position that we're aware of. Somebody did get promoted, I saw, but uh, they're not necessarily a public figure, so we don't need to highlight it too much. But obviously, with this movement, people take on additional responsibilities. But it's good to see internally people can grow too. Ariel Scherer did grow over a number of years. Unfortunately, not with the outcome I would think that he would hope for at the end. TNA Wrestling Slammiversary. So tickets distributed 42 since the last update 7 days ago, 2,512. So chugging along there. Uh, Now you can't say UBS Arena is not supporting them. They just put out like a whole video with Casey Navarro, Joe Henry, and Masha Slamovich through their social media pages. Now, interestingly, and working for a college myself, I understand that an article covering something that happened a month ago takes time to come out and wouldn't necessarily come out, um, like a news site story. So Full Sail University covered the TNA tapings from February, and there were some interesting pieces. 10 Full Sail graduates were hired to key production positions for the broadcast, and a team of student volunteers was involved in the customer service aspects of running the live event, including ticketing, ushering, and setting up the post-show meet and greet. Attendees also had the opportunity to buy merch such as t-shirts and sweatshirts. The production of Full Sail was seamless and professional, said Len Asper, chairman and CEO. It was great to see students facing real-time decisions that come with the pressure of a live show and being able to respond and collaborate with seasoned executives to work in such a dynamic environment. The Anthem team was extremely impressed with the degree of professionalism and the skills of the Full Sail team, and coupled with a compelling performance venue that was both fan and production friendly, the whole experience was extremely positive. So maybe we'll see TNA back, especially as they switch off between running 5,000 seat venues, which we'll get into in 1 second, and sort of like austerity of running a studio in Nashville or Full Sail University or college in Canada. Um, Now, I'm not sure if it's pronounced Moulette, or Mullet, but since it's wrestling, I'm just going to call it the Mullet Arena in Tempe, Arizona. Good catch. Sorry, I didn't have the person's name, but a good catch of somebody on LinkedIn. I'm impressed because usually I like to catch these sort of things of the arena announcing that TNA was coming on June 6th and 7th. And this is a 5,000 seat arena that's home to hockey, gymnastics, NBA G League, and Arena Football One's Arizona Bandits. TNA, and this isn't like a bad thing. It's good to know who you are. NBA, TNA type of venue seem to align well. Typically, it's a 4,600 seat setup for professional hockey. So, they could do like a half venue setup as needed. So that would make sense. So from St. Joseph, I don't know like if people were shuttled to one part of the venue or whatever it may be, but there are reports of good attendance and the pictures looked good there. So going over upcoming shows, talking about WrestleMania weekend, the Unbreakable show at UNLV. The reserve tickets on the floor are all sold out, and it's showing plenty of seats ready in the risers. The Galen Center in LA, most of the reserve tickets on the floor are sold out, and plenty in the risers. Irvine, California, a fair amount still available on the floor. Brampton, I would say, is looking like or an early win for the company as they point towards this May 24th date. Obviously, once important to Len Asper, where his newly purchased minor league basketball team plays, as we covered extensively here, the CAA Center. So I think this will end up being a strong attendance. So obviously, sort of like a home court advantage there in a way.
So I know this is obviously my favorite topic, but you need to discuss here and there. What is going on?
Yeah, John, do you remember Tarantula?
That sounds so familiar. Why does that sound so familiar?
Okay, so most likely, and this would be the context that I would know him for two reasons. One, being a mainstay in Pittsburgh, like reading any, not any, but number of After magazines, his name always like floated through, whether it was in the results section or whatever it may be. And he did a little bit of enhancement work for WCW. So,
Okay, yes.
a story that's unfortunately sad uh, includes Tarantula. So let's get into it. This is from the Tribe Live by Paula Reed Ward. A woman who attended the Brawl Under the Bridge, I like that name, wrestling event last summer in Homestead is suing the promoter and two participants, alleging her leg was broken when motorcycles they drove as part of their entrance skidded into the crowd. Stephanie Mira, a former journalist, an online news organization in Pittsburgh, filed her complaint in Allegheny County Commons against David Yunkins Sr., a Moon Hall councilman who wrestles under the moniker Tarantula, and his son David Yunkins Jr. Mira is also suing Keystone State Wrestling Alliance and its producers, Sean Belsterling, Robert Orquist, Justin Smith, and Louis Zygmunt. This was not a freak accident. It was a preventable catastrophe, a failure of planning, risk assessment, and basic judgment. A message left with the Wrestling Alliance was not immediately returned. Eugen Jr. also did not return a message. His father said Tuesday he had not seen the lawsuit and could not comment on it. However, he said that he and his son drove the motorcycles into the event that evening and they hit gravel. When you hit gravel, it's like hitting black ice. It was a very awful experience. There were people that got hurt. Mira's complaint alleged that she was at the July 13th event as a journalist and recorded video of the motorcycle's entrance, including when she was struck. Mira, who is from Pittsburgh, I was wondering why she was, I mean, everyone can enjoy it, but based on the way they were describing her, it didn't seem like something that might appeal to her. But wrestling's for everyone. Mira, who is from Pittsburgh, said she fractured her left tibia, the shin bone, which required surgery. She said she was unable to bear weight for an extended period of time. According to the lawsuit, when it was time for Yunkins Sr. to enter the area, he emerged from behind a row of 3 porta-johns. That's very, very independent wrestling. Revved his engine and accelerated towards the crowd, but realizing the danger, it continued. He laid his bike down, skidding into multiple spectators. Then Yunkins Jr., who was behind, also swerved and immediately laid his bike down, skidding into Mira. The complaint continued. Both motorcycles were in simultaneous motion, and the available footage suggests Yunkins Jr. swerved and ultimately lost control in an effort to avoid colliding with his father. The lawsuit alleges the producers of failing to provide adequate safety measures and said there were no barriers, ropes, or crowd control. It includes claims for negligence and vehicular negligence. Mira seeking monetary damages. While Brawl Under the Bridge, held under the Homestead Grays Bridge along 7th Street, was promoted as a pro wrestling event, the lawsuit says in reality it devolved into a poorly planned stunt show that placed spectators over safety, culminating in preventable injuries to multiple spectators. The rest of the event was canceled, and ultimately had to see a doctor because he was so upset by what happened. It was haunting because I care about my fans so much. Yugen said he'd been wrestling for 35 years. He wrestled The Rock. At 62, this was his last year of wrestling and so on. Not sure if this is related at all, John, but I think the promotion there, Keystone, they were winding down their events as well. And an interesting one here, and a really, I think a smart way of promoting sort of like nostalgia in current wrestling Impact Pro Wrestling to unleash excitement at Memorial Auditorium, a 1970s wrestling match in Memorial. Okay, so there's been wrestling in this venue in Iowa had been for many years. Over its long history, Memorial Auditorium at 200 North 4th Street has been host to many events. Residents are familiar with graduations, trick-or-treating, and so on. Some might not know that it's for its history in wrestling. In Memorial Auditorium, Fez defended his title in 1949, and Andre thrilled fans in the 70s. On March 29th, as of the time that this was being written, Impact will host a competition there. Describes the night's lineup as one. Let me just skip through the talents to the interesting part. Let's see. Besides action, attendees will be able to see wrestling artifacts from the Tragos Thez Hall of Fame. For the first time, objects will be shown outside of the Dan Gable Museum in Waterloo. Joyce Postian, who in the 1970s and 80s photographed AWA, will be there for her book, My Ringside Seat to the AWA. Display items include ones from Lou Thesz, Bret Hart, and Frank Gotch, and artifacts and photos of Andre the Giant, all wrestlers who've performed at Memorial Auditorium. The event also is going to honor the auditorium's wrestling history, and the organizers clearly want to make more of that history. This event will have something new, the Memorial Auditorium Cup. So I think that's kind of like a fun thing. Like, not only do you celebrate its history, but you have, different artifacts there. It's like going to a museum as well.
Love it. It's a great idea. Love a little old school with some new school. You gotta do the combination. To me, anyway. Love that.
Yeah, I would love to see something like that at the Westchester County Center, for example.
That's a great idea, actually. That's pretty damn cool. But as far as this week is concerned, let's wrap this bad boy up and head towards the plugs. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. How about you, Lavie?
Yeah, follow me on X, Lavie Marg, LAVIE-MARG. Check out our business group on LinkedIn, The Business of the Business. Check out my long form articles on LionCubJobSearch.com. We are the official business podcast of PW Ponderings, and we are distributed by the Creative Control Network.
All right. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening. See you right back here next week for a little business of the business. We'll see you next week, folks.